Hi, this is Matt with LSAT Cracked. In this lesson, we're going to discuss strengthening question stems. It's going to say something along the lines of, which one of the following answer choices, if true, most strongly supports the reasoning or the conclusion above? Okay, let's go in order here. Number one, this is an argument evaluation question stem, okay? That's the family it's in. So as always, find the conclusion. Ask yourself, is this a good argument or a bad argument? Does this conclusion have to be true? The answer with a strengthening question stem is always going to be no. You're always going to be dealing with a bad argument. Now, articulate that flaw. Why is it a bad argument? Why do those premises and the inferences that you can reasonably draw from them not mandate or compel you? Why do they not make you bet your life that that conclusion is true? That's the first step. Step two, make sure you understand what the question stem is saying. It's saying which one of the following, if true. So you need to assume for the purposes of this exercise that the answer choice is true. A lot of students say, oh, I got rid of that because it seemed off topic because I can't make that inference. No, you're not making an inference here. You're considering a new piece of information. Think of it as 5 different potential pieces of evidence or information that you might be presented with, inserted into the argument, and if it's true, you ask, does that strengthen my argument? Does it make the conclusion more likely to be true? Okay. One other note on the question stem here. Because some of these strengthening question stems will say most strongly supports, okay, a lot of students, if they're reading too quickly, will confuse that with a most strongly supported by question stem, which is, as we talked about earlier, sort of the cousin of a must be true question stem. That's an inference question stem, and that is 180 degrees the opposite of what we are doing here. Okay, so make sure you have those two things separate in your mind and make sure you can read those two different question stems clearly. Okay, now moving on to the answer choices. Most, or I shouldn't say most, but a lot of strengthening question stems and weakening question stems focus on cause and effect arguments. Or, and these are basically the same as cause and effect, they will focus on explanation style arguments. That's where you observe something happening, we can all agree it's happening, and the argument claims it knows, or it probably knows, what the explanation for that phenomena is, okay? And the question here is, you need to recall the 3 ways that they are most commonly going to strengthen that type of argumentation. It's going to be indirect. That's the key. They rarely have a hammer that hits you over the head with it and say, hey, this explanation, here's more direct evidence for why it's true. That's too easy. The LSAT writers want you to understand how explanation A can be strengthened indirectly. The number one way they can do it, they can remove or eliminate explanation B. The number one way you will see a cause and effect or an explanation argument strengthened on the LSAT is to eliminate a rival explanation. Number 2, they can show you the cause. This is for cause and effect arguments, and review the prior information we've talked about this. They can show you the cause with the effect in another setting. Hey, we see another example of this happening. Or they can show you no cause, no effect in another setting. The reason I'm focusing on cause and effect here is because a lot of the hard strengthening questions deal with cause and effect. One more thing to keep in mind. You want to make sure you avoid choosing an answer choice in the strengthening question stem that simply gives you information you already know to be true. In other words, don't pick a premise repeater. You keep all of this in mind and you're going to notice that your improvement on strengthening questions is going to come quickly, and you're going to see a corresponding increase in the skill level on your weakening question stems as well. As we'll talk about in the next lesson, they are 2 sides of the same coin. They are testing the same skills, and the number one skill is the ability to realize how seemingly off-topic information may indirectly strengthen or weaken your conclusion.